You let it break.
Oh, what's that?
You let us feel it.
What's that? Where's my cardboard?
We thought we were good.
Put down a piece of cardboard.
Check it.
Let's start this episode by breakdancing.
But you still have my back.
Look at me. Look at me go. I'm spinning on my head. Come on.
You pull back. I felt the silence. Everything shifted. No alignment. What I built couldn't survive it. Now I'm face to face with time. And yeah. And let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh, you better believe it. You better believe it. Let's go. Welcome to the Comparison Guy podcast. Today is April 27th, a Monday. Gotta get my numbers up. Get my numbers up with the young folks. Gotta get followers. Gotta get clicks. Gotta get shares. Gotta get a nap after this. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna answer the question, what is a woman? What's the definition of a woman? I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you how to answer it. Then I'm gonna expose the fakeocracy. The fakeocracy we're living in this country right now. By the end of this episode, you'll know what a woman is, how to answer that question, and I might even tell you how to afford to live in the affordability crisis.
This is mine.
By the end of this episode, you're gonna want to jump out of a window. Come on.
You don't move. I don't guide it.
Well, that feels good.
You don't win. I don't sign it. What? That's right. The help of man is useless.
How dare you? Oh, yeah. That's good stuff. That's good stuff right there. Thank you, Joy and Rejoice Media on YouTube. Yeah, sure, why not? Give them a shout out. Joy and Rejoice Media on YouTube. They got as few followers as I do. I might as well give them a shout out. I like that. That's good stuff. But let's get right to it. I ran out of time last episode to answer the question, what is a woman? So I will do it right now, right from the start. First, let me just play one quick example of this debate, because I can't assume everyone knows this is an ongoing debate. I know a lot of people do, but I could play you a million clips of conservatives asking liberals, progressives, or Democrats this question, what is a woman? And everyone on the left seems to get tripped up on it for some reason. So let me just give you one example.
What is a woman?
A woman is somebody who presents as our social conception of womanhood.
So you
acts in such a way.
So Pixie, just can you answer that question without using the word woman or womanhood?
It's because basically it would be a functional definition. So as a society, we have an understanding of what woman is.
What is that?
Man.
Yeah, that's basically.
I am a man. XY chromosomes.
Okay, but the problem with that is that I didn't check your chromosomes before coming in here and calling you a man, and you didn't check my chromosomes before coming in here.
Or genitals.
Calling me a woman.
So first of all, you can't give me a definition without using the word woman.
That's a functional definition, yeah, sure.
You should have a functional definition for the most important question in civilization,
No,
right?
functional definitions are a definition that is by the function of something. So like, for example,
No, there's an objective definition.
One.
So then, can you give me an objective, a functional, utilitarian, any sort of biological definition of what a woman is? Because how can we debate feminism if we can't agree what a woman is?
Make sense? No, absolutely not. Makes no sense. I don't know what either one of them is talking about. And that's just about how this debate goes. That's Charlie Kirk, the late Charlie Kirk, sitting and debating someone on that question. What is a woman? So let me help. Let me help everybody out on this one. When I was born, the hospital created a birth certificate and wrote on it the information they knew about me at the time. My gender, male, my given name, where I was born, the city, the hospital, my weight, stuff like that. They didn't write on my birth certificate, absurdly handsome, because they didn't know that yet. And even if they did, that would be weird to call a baby absurdly handsome. So we'd have to wait to find that out about me. When Albert Einstein was born, I think in Germany, they must have kept some sort of record in 1879. You know those Germans. They probably wrote what they knew. A male, his name, city, maybe hospital of birth. they didn't write genius on his birth certificate because they didn't know that yet. Do you think Einstein was born with or without your genetic makeup to be a genius? Do you think Einstein grew up observing other people being geniuses and decided, I think I'll be a genius? Do you think he was influenced by seeing other people being geniuses and that's why he became a genius? In other words, were the ingredients in there, or did he choose later to become a genius? Anyone looking for a deeper explanation than that, you've come to the wrong place. I actually decided to shorten this discussion way down because I realized the more I tried to explain my opinion, the more ridiculous the argument starts to sound. And unlike Einstein, I'm not a genius. That is not the ingredient that was put in me. So to have an argument over what you are defined as at the time of your birth is like having an argument over the existence of Pluto. Oh, no. When Pluto was discovered, it was called a planet. It was defined as a planet. Well, no, it's something else now. Well, then it doesn't exist. Huh? No, Pluto definitely exists. We can see it. It's just defined as something else now. Is that difficult? Is that difficult for science to do? I'm not going to beat this into the ground because I realize on this topic, people either get exactly what I'm saying or they don't. And no amount of talking is going to change that. A woman is a woman by definition. We all know and understand, or we should all know and understand that. A woman is a woman by definition. Later, that understanding may become, this human being is defined as a transgender woman, or a transgendered man, or a gay man, or a gay woman, or a very tall man, or a woman who has a 10-octave range. All things that exist at the time that you are born, but may not manifest themselves until later. And when those things do manifest themselves, you can't tell somebody they don't exist. That's for my conservative brothers and sisters out there. Now, for my liberal brothers and sisters out there, what you're not going to do is keep changing up the definitions and the preferences on me. That's what you're not going to do. That's what gets you into trouble with the whole they, them, and adding letters, LGBTQIA plus, non-binary, gender non-conforming, demigender, gender fluid. Look, I'm not making these up. Agender, identifying as having no gender or neutral gender. Bigender, identifying with two genders. Cisgender, identifying with the same gender. Demigender, feeling partially but not fully connected to a particular gender. Gender fluid, having a gender identity that changes and shifts over time. Gender queer, an umbrella term that falls outside the non-binary. Transgender, two-spirit, a modern umbrella term used by some indigenous North Americans to describe gender variant individuals. Do you know these continue on? Kyle gender, Delica gender, I believe that is, identifying with multiple genders but preferring one over others. Trans feminine, trans masculine, gender non-conforming, a broad term for individuals whose gender expression differs from societal expectations. You see, my progressive brothers and sisters, this is where you get yourself into trouble. I'm with you. I'll fight alongside you for equality. If you show up at work saying you're a trans woman and your name is Sheila, I'll call you Sheila. What do I care? I care less. But if you come in Tuesday and tell me your name is Stucco and you're in between genders right now, and then Wednesday you come in and your name is Two-Spirit and you identify as both genders, look, we're going to have to go to HR. Because I ain't going to put up with it. That's all I'm saying. I hope I'm not offending anybody. I really hope I'm not. Because this is what happens. This is why we have so much trouble with topics like this, is because you'll have one group of people out there who are only listening to their own interpretation of what should be and what they believe is correct. And there's a lot of emotion that goes in with it, which is understandable. I respect that. If you have a child, for instance, who's dealing with this identity issue, I get the emotion, but they think the only conversation that exists is the conversation that they're having, and that the equality argument and the argument that you shouldn't be able to be fired from work because of a gender identity issue. You shouldn't be treated poorly by people or looked down upon or told you don't exist because of your gender identity issue. They think that's the only conversation. But no, the conversation going on the other side is look at this list. Look at what's going on out here. Look at what they're trying to foist upon the American people because they have to have it their way. And if they don't get it their way, then you're an evil person. You're a hateful person if you don't give in to what they want. That's the other conversation that's going on out there. Listen to this podcast. I'm not super familiar with this podcast, but it's starting to cross my radar more and more as it grows in popularity. And if you listen to it for 2 minutes, you'll know exactly why it's growing in popularity, because it's angry people being angry. And what better to listen to than angry people listening to angry people validate their anger? In other words, it's basically just another rant podcast, ranting about what makes them angry. So listen to this. Okay, yep, I'm breaking into this episode with an addendum. So far, everything you've heard up to this point was actually what I recorded on Monday. I recorded an entire episode on Monday, but I didn't put it up. So I'm still going to continue to play the clip I was just referring to, and I'm going to get back to the episode for the most part that I did Monday, but I had to do an addendum because of the correspondence dinner. Initially, I wasn't going to talk about it because I felt anything I would say would be redundant to what others were saying, but then I decided I want to say one thing before half the people listening bail on me, okay? Can we just stop with the distraction stuff all the time? Can we just stop with that? Oh, this was a distraction. This is a distraction. This is all to distract from fill in the blank. All the media does it. Both sides will accuse the other side of creating a distraction from what they don't want you to see, what they don't want you to be talking about. This is a distraction from the Epstein files. This is a distraction from whatever. This comes from the most easily distracted people on the planet. This comes from people who can't stay focused on a single topic for 5 minutes. That assassination attempt at the correspondence dinner took place Saturday evening. By Monday morning, it was the 7th trending topic on Google. People were more interested in the NFL draft. So, I don't know why we have to be accusing someone of orchestrating a distraction. But beyond that, if Donald Trump wanted to distract from anything, you know what he could do? You know all Donald Trump would have to do to distract this media? Just tweet Taylor Swift, ? That's all. That's all. Just tweet out Taylor Swift, ? The media would lose their minds. They'd come on first thing in the morning. Last night at 10:44 p.m., President Donald Trump tweeted Taylor Swift ? Not sure what that was in relation to. Let's bring in my esteemed colleague, Bureau Chief at Axios. Jim, do we have any new information why the president tweeted Taylor Swift ? Well, Larry, sources familiar with the situation confirm it was an authentic tweet from Donald Trump's verified Twitter account. We've reached out to White House officials, including White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. We have yet to hear back. Interesting. Let's unpack this further with the host of the Trump is a Doofus podcast, Lainey. Lainey, we noticed Trump capitalized the T in Taylor, but not the S in Swift. Do we know if there's any significance there? Oh, yes, it's because he hates powerful women. We've seen this before, Rosie O'Donnell and Kamala Harris and calling her stupid. Donald Trump just hates powerful women, and he thinks they don't deserve to have a last name. Oh, thank you. We now have Jamie Raskin, United States Representative from New York. Jamie Raskin, what do you make of this Donald Trump tweet? Taylor Swift, ? Well, Stephanie, I just think it's amazing that the president has time to tweet about Taylor Swift when the American people are struggling from high prices because of his illegal war and his endless war with Iran. Oh, thank you, Senator. Before you go, do you think this could have been some encrypted, coded message to Vladimir Putin? we shouldn't rule it out. Stop me when I get too crazy. Crazier than Trump staged an assassination attempt as a distraction. Stop me when I get crazier than that. Well, why do you think he did that? Well, because Trump lies. I think that he did it because Trump's a liar. Listen, Trump lies about his weight. He lies about raw dog and porn stars. He lies about how many undocumented immigrants came into the country. And he lies and he struggles with percentages when he's talking about how many jobs undocumented immigrants have taken. He lies about the economy. He lies about the weather, even though that's something that happened that you saw. Oh, it was sunny yesterday. No, it wasn't. It rained. He lies so much his breath smells like a lie. He should wear a cologne named Perjury. Oh, Perjury. Eau de Parfum, a fragrance from Calvin Klein. Yeah, he lies. Isn't that enough? Isn't that enough? Do you really have to make this man out to be somebody who was staging assassination attempts? Don't you have the brain power to beat him on the volume of lies he provides you on a daily basis? Why is it that so many people feel the need to turn Donald Trump, I should say, into someone who's so crazy, it starts to make them look crazy? Why is that? This is why we so desperately need a control group in this country. We need a comparison group of normal people. Centrist, we need you more than ever now. I'm absolutely convinced of that. I am loud and proud, planting my centrist pride flag in the ground. When I started this podcast, I have no problem telling you I wasn't sure if I knew what the heck I was talking about, and I still don't on a lot of things. But not this. Not this. I called the podcast The Comparison Group initially. I wanted to call it the Control Group, but that name was taken, so I went with the Comparison Group. Later changed it to Comparison Guy because group was confusing people. It was making people think they were going to hear a group discussion rather than one guy. But in any case, my choice of the name, as I explained in 2020, Comparison Group, now Comparison Guy, was because I felt we needed a control group in this country. A country that seemed to be descending into insanity day by day, and it's becoming harder to tell the crazy from the normal. So you have to have a control group. You have to have a group that remains anchored in reality and common sense and logic. A group to compare the crazy to. Otherwise, you won't be able to recognize the crazy when you see it. If everyone's crazy, how do you know? How can you tell what's normal? I believe that in 2020, and sitting here in April of 2026, I have an abundance of evidence to back that thought up, or that theory, if you will, because that's where you use things like control groups and experiments to come up with a theory. So I have evidence to back up that theory that I had way back then. And I'm going to play the clip now, but please hang in with me. Please hang in with me. I know there's certain people who just aren't, and I'm just accepting that now. Going forward, I understand there are certain people who you're not going to get through to. You're just not. But I'll play the clip and hang in, because what I'm saying here is going to start to make more and more sense as you listen to all of my evidence that I'm going to present, okay? Don't run off, especially if you're new to the podcast. Don't run off because you think you know where I'm going with this. And also, remember, if you're fairly new to the podcast, I'm giving my opinion. This is an opinion podcast. But as I say, I like to provide the basis for my opinion. I like to give examples and evidence to back up and explain how I arrived at my opinion. So here's a clip. It's a little bit long, so I'm probably going to interrupt it a few times to break it up. Okay, here we go.
So Kylie was like, yeah, a lot of people didn't like Jank and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, can't please everybody. Well, then we have Kasparian on. And I went and looked at the comments. And everybody in our audience hates her. I've never seen the comment section like this. It's not one, it's not two, it's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of comments. And I was just, they're like, they didn't listen to us with Jank. And then they have on and on. So why the everybody hate these two people, and you used to work with them.
Okay, so I know I jumped right into that, but I'll explain. This podcast host is talking about the fact that they had two separate guests that the entire audience hated. Okay, the guest, I know one guy, kind of, sorta. I don't really follow him, but I know him from the Young Turks. I do know who she's talking about. A guy that I've always felt is a pretty far left guy. But she's talking about having two guests on that the entire audience hated. So I have to ask you, if your entire audience is in unison and hates a particular type of guest or a particular guest, or arrives at the exact same conclusion about a guest, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? Either the guest was really, really bad, or just a total jerk a-hole, or you have a very homogenous audience. It would leave one to believe there is not a lot of diversity in thought in your audience. I mean, that's what I would think. If everyone arrived at the exact same conclusion about a guest, like I said, either bad guest or not a very diverse audience. Anyone got a problem with that? I just want to let you know what we're dealing with here. To me, it's as I've said before. If you do a politics podcast, you should not have 20,000 five-star ratings. How is that even possible? How can there be agreement on everything every time? That's just not, I just don't see that that's a productive way to do a politics podcast, okay? But I just wanted to let you know that's what we got, that's what we're listening to. Let's continue.
This kind of dovetails with what I've had it with. So maybe I can open with what I've had it with, and that'll explain sort of why I've had it with those two, and maybe some people in your audience have as well. So I've had it with centrists parading around as progressives. And these can be anyone from Gavin Newsom to Hakeem Jeffries to Nancy Pelosi, but also in the media, Bill Maher, Cenk Uygur, and Anna Kasparian. These are, in my opinion, opportunistic slugs who, whenever the chance arises, they will say the right things in order to basically break bread with the right, have them on their podcast, and offer up as, sort of a sacrifice portions of the so-called left that people think that they come from, whether that's trans people, whether that's people of color, whether that's immigrants, right? Whether that's unhoused people. All of the issues that I personally care about as someone who wants to see economic, social, racial justice in this country.
Okay, so she's saying a lot. And I know she's speaking some people's language. A lot of people agree with exactly what she is saying. And it's why this podcast is becoming more and more popular, and this way of thinking is becoming more and more popular on the left. But she says at the end there, what becomes, in my opinion, problematic in the real world. She says, all the issues that I personally care about, she personally cares about. So if the issues she personally cares about are not the same issues that I personally care about, I'm a slug. You're a slug. If you're centrist in her eyes, apparently. No, I mean, what she really hates, and man, it's even as I'm sitting here saying I'm going to just let my freak flag fly on this whole centrist thing, it's still hard for me to be brutally honest with people. What this person and people who think like this really hate is that centrists are driven by realism. They don't live in a fantasy world. We're not driven solely by emotion. And in the real world, I can tell the difference between good, well thought out government policy and spending that used to exist in the Democratic Party, where the theory was, hey, if we spend money on education, we'll spend less on crime. Because if we educate citizens, there'll be less poverty and therefore less crime. Okay, makes sense. Immigration policy that doesn't create an incentive structure for millions of people to show up at our southern border because we can't process them and we have nowhere to put them in a country that I keep hearing has a housing shortage crisis. And the worst thing you could say to someone like this is, you do have to admit Never start a sentence like that. You do have to admit what's not going on at our southern border right now. Child rape, people living in their own squalor, people starving, people getting tangled up and dying in barbed wire trying to cross the Rio Grande, people dying in the back of a container, one of those cargo containers, because somebody packed 30 people inside one of those things to try and smuggle them into the country. That's also what we don't have going on at the southern border. Now, if we could get together and figure out how to accomplish that without the brutality of ICE, we might have something going here in this country. But we can't even talk to one another about it. We can't even talk to one another because you can't talk to people who don't agree with you on everything. People like her and the host of the show, they also don't like to hear somebody like me say, hey, look, I care about unhoused people. I care about homeless people. Not enough to let them move in with me. I got my own problems. You go pick them up. You care so much about the homeless, you go pick them up and bring them and let them live with you. I played the clip long time ago. I played the clip of a town in California, very liberal town, that voted on a referendum to allow homeless people to live on their streets. Live on their streets, basically in front of their houses in tents, because they felt like, hey, we're good people, we're compassionate people, and we want to help. And these people, they're not bad people, and they don't deserve to live the way they're living. They can live on our streets in tents. We welcome them as our neighbors. They could not repeal that referendum fast enough. They couldn't get rid of that fast enough. Why? Well, I played the story, and I played a clip of one woman that they spoke to and said, every time I had to clean up human poop on my lawn, my liberalism went down a notch. That's what she said. That's what happened. And she wasn't a bad person either. And the people in that town, that liberal town, that said, we got to repeal this doggone thing quick and fast and in a hurry, they weren't bad people. They just recognized, we made a mistake here. We were trying to help, but nobody wants to go out and clean up somebody else's crap on their lawn every day. That's reality. That's what people don't want to face, that talk the way this woman's talking and talk the way these hosts talk. But another thing I'll say, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here on this one clip. But the other thing I'll say, a lot of these people who like to be very generous with other people's money, and keep in mind, very generous with other people's money, and they'll call centrist slugs. A lot of these people, maybe not her, I don't know this woman, maybe not the host of the show, I don't know them, and maybe not every single person in their audience, I don't know them all, but a lot of the people who talk this way haven't so much as dropped off a can of baked beans at their local church. Haven't so much as dropped off a apple core at the local food pantry. They'll sit in judgment of others, and they'll expect others to be generous with their money for these programs to help the marginalized folks. And they'll pat themselves on the back. They'll even pat themselves on the back for standing up for the marginalized groups. And all they're doing is saying, I stand with the marginalized groups. That's all they do. They will pat themselves on the back for saying, yeah, I stand with the marginalized groups. Look at my t-shirt. Meanwhile, their activism does not actually include any acts of charity. That's what gets me. Their idea of charity is tipping 18%. Or their idea of charity is having sex with an ugly person. Which, hey, listen, thank you. But do you have any idea how obnoxious you have to be to condemn an entire group of people, i.e. centrist? Do you have any idea how obnoxious that is? I'll say, hey, look, I don't know every progressive. I don't know every Trump supporter. I don't know every Democrat, every liberal, every this, that, the other thing. I don't know. I can certainly give my opinion on some flaws that I believe exist within any group of people. I can certainly do that because flaws exist in every single group of people. So I'm not going out on a limb by saying, hey, I believe some progressives are like this, and I believe some Trump supporters are like that, and I believe some people might think this way in this group, and I think some people might think that way in the other group. But who on earth in their right mind would ever generalize an entire group of people based on what they think in relation to what you think they should think? And please don't be silly and say, well, what about Nazis? And what about the KKK? Let's not waste each other's time. Let's have intelligent discussion. You know what I'm referring to. Generalizing progressives, or generalizing centrists, or generalizing trans people, or generalizing Jewish people. You can have a progressive who's a horrible person and says nutty stuff. You can have a centrist who's a horrible person and says nutty stuff. You can have a trans person that does horrible stuff. You can have a Jewish person that does horrible stuff. But you don't label the entire group. The Nazis, the KKK, that wasn't a few bad apples. That was the group. That was the group. That's the difference. That's the difference. But how can you write off and generalize an entire group of people by saying, well, they claim they are liberal, but they're not liberal because they aren't liberal the way we want them to be liberal? How can you write off an entire group of people that way? And if you say to me, hey, comparison guy, whatever, you are never going to convince me that I shouldn't write off all of MAGA. If someone continues to support and votes or voted for Donald Trump, I'm writing them off. If you feel that way, please stay tuned for the next 15 to 20 minutes or so, because you're going to have some splaining to do. If that's the way you feel because of Donald Trump and his supporters, please stay tuned, because you're going to have some splaining to do. I just don't get people's rationale on some things. How is that not an extreme way of thinking? You know, no one thinks they're extreme. No one believes they're extreme. Same way nobody thinks they're racist. It's not often you walk up to somebody and say, hey, are you racist? And they go, oh yeah, boy, am I ever. They'll say, no, I'm just pro my race. I'm not racist. I don't hate anybody. I'm just pro my race. Well, nobody thinks they're an extremist. No, I'm just pro my positions. I'm just really adamant about my positions. I'm not extreme. I'm getting too caught up in this. I think I might have a little bit more. So let me continue.
They have no problem with, and they continually get pushed into this category of, oh, they're liberal. Oh, they're a left. Oh, they're a progressive. Gavin Newsom, as if we didn't see him sweeping up homeless encampments from these poor folks who don't have anywhere else to go. But they get heralded as these liberals, and they're everything but. These are people who want to, again, have a beer with Charlie Kirk, RIP. They want to, they literally will say that, the left has gone crazy. They're out of their minds. And because they're good on one issue or maybe two issues, everyone gives them a pass, and they still kind of get to go through the world as if they haven't said.
You heard her say, we centrists think the left has gone crazy. No, I think people like her have gone crazy. Like I say, I'm not going to overgeneralize the whole left. I think people like her have gone crazy, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. We all know that. And we've been down this road. I know exactly where it leads. In 2016, a total of 88,000 people combined between Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania said, I'm pissed, and I ain't voting for Hillary Clinton. I'm voting for Gary Johnson. I'm voting for Jill Stein. And in came Trump. So I know where this I'm pissed off and I'm not going to support the establishment candidate. I know where it leads. What they are doing by attacking, and I do mean attacking. I mean, I'm playing little clips, little tiny little segments of one episode. But this is their show. This is their movement. You heard them. Any centrist candidate, nope, not interested. They're demanding a far left, purebred candidate. And you know what they're going to get? What they're begging for if they keep this up? A third party challenge in 2028. Write it down. I'm predicting it here today. There are groups that wanted to field a candidate in 2024. They couldn't get it together. But in 2028, if they continue to go down this road, you give this country a version of their purebred liberal choice versus Marco Rubio and third party Joe Manchin, let's say. Well, I'll be saying congratulations, President Marco Rubio. That's what we'll all be saying. I've been down this road before. I know exactly where it goes. What's even more likely is we get a J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, a third party challenge, and then someone they hate and have been beaten up for 2.5 years, like a Gavin Newsom, or even, I don't know, Gretchen Whitmer. I think she's moderate. They don't mention her, so I guess they give her a pass because, But I think Gretchen Whitmer is kind of moderate by their scale. So if one of those people get the nomination for the Democratic Party, well, can't vote for moderate. Got to have purebred. And once again, if that's what we get, congrats, JD. Congrats, Marco. Because we will once again go into an election just like we did in 2016, just like we did in 2024, with a divided, bitterly divided Democratic Party. This is what they hate. This is what extremists hate. When you make sense, they don't like it. They do not like it when you make sense. And look, fine. Please, go form your own party then. I'm begging you. I'm begging these people. Go form your own party. I'll send you $5 to get you started. I swear I will. Just go start your own party. Leave the Democratic Party. Just say you're fed up. You're done with the Democratic Party, and you're starting your own thing. Because we cannot continue to have silly arguments, and we cannot continue to just rehash the same incorrect talking points over and over and over again that mislead people down a path of just unions built the middle class. No, they didn't. Capitalism built the middle class. Demand for products and services. When you have demand, you need supply. When you need supply, you need labor. When you need labor, unions form to represent the labor. Unless you can find me a place that has a thriving unions, and no jobs, I think that argument is pretty airtight. Democrats have lost blue-collar, working-class, high school educated electorate. You'll hear people say, hey, they've lost the blue-collar, working-class high school folks. I wonder why. I wonder why those people weren't on board with the progressive ideology like college student loan cancellation. I wonder why all those blue-collar high school folks thought Biden went too far left. Now, listen, no one loves greedy corporations or billionaires, but which concerns you more? How much you'll be earning or worth in 10 years, or how much Elon Musk will be earning or worth in 10 years? Which do you care about more? I care how I'm going to be doing in 10 years, not Elon Musk. And yet Bernie Sanders can't brush his teeth in the morning without checking to see how much Elon Musk is worth. You're telling me any of this makes sense to you? These people have got to wake up and smell the irony. I didn't put Donald Trump back in office. They did. I was the guy sitting here screaming, you're going to put Trump back in office. You're going to put Trump back in office. While they were over there yucking it up on Blue Sky and Facebook and Trump smells and captioning his photo. And now Taco Trump, and having a grand old time back during that campaign. He's broke. He's got no money. He's got no ground game. He can't even hold a rally. He can't fill a grade school gymnasium. His people walk out of his rallies. Kamala's up in the polls. It's tight, but Kamala's up in the polls. And I said, Trump's going to win. Trump's going to win because he's going to win moderates. And Trump is going to win moderates because anyone who said, I don't want to vote for Trump, but I just don't know if I want to vote for Kamala. Anyone who said that heard, well, what the heck are you going to do, stupid? You got to pick one. What the heck are you going to do, stupid? You got two choices. Get over yourself, as Hillary Clinton said. You got two choices. Get over it. Pick one. And you better pick Kamala. That's what you heard. Instead of, well, what are your concerns with Kamala? Okay. Now, listen, I get it. Of course, Kamala's not perfect, and those are some legitimate concerns, but that's all that would have been required. You listen, a lot of times people, off air, they say they think I'm a Trump supporter because of the way I talk on this podcast. And so if there's anybody out there listening, that's been listening, that considers himself more moderate and centrist, and you get the same thing, you argue some of this stuff, and people accuse you of being a Trump supporter, you know what you tell them? Not to Trump supporters. I promise you, no Trump supporter who listens to this podcast thinks I'm a Trump supporter. Ain't that funny? Ain't that funny? No Trump supporter who would hear this podcast would say, oh, that guy's a Trump supporter. But a whole lot of people on the left think it. Ain't that funny? I got to move on because that's only one new, I'll say relatively new, emerging faction within the Democratic Party. But it gets worse. There's a whole nother emerging faction within the party. A faction that apparently believes America deserved 9/11. Oh, you heard me. You heard me. Believes America deserved 9/11. Now, I guess when you think about it, you might say, well, I guess anyone under the age of 30, maybe even 35, they don't remember 9/11. They were 5 years old, 10 years old. I mean, 9/11 was in 2001. What I remember, I sure do remember. I remember what I was doing. I remember where I was. I remember who came and said, turn on the news, turn on the news. A plane hit the World Trade Center. And I watched for a while. I went back to what I was doing. And I remember the person who yelled from the other room, oh my God, another plane just hit. I remember it all. But if you don't, even if you don't remember, even if you weren't alive, what on earth justifies saying America deserved 9/11? America was the people in those buildings jumping to their deaths. America was the people on those planes. America was the kids who lost their parents, the mothers who lost sons and daughters, people who lost brothers and sisters. Since when did that stop being America? What kind of person has that kind of hatred for this country, and what kind of people would listen to and support that? And how? How in God's name can that exist? Not only exist, but seem to be welcome in the Democratic Party.
America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it. We've totally brought it on ourselves, dude. Holy.
If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott.
Well, my understanding is that the property owners who have properties there choose just not to rent it at all.
Yeah, kill them. Kill those motherfuckers and murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their red capitalist blood. Left-wingers, liberals, you need to be showing your opponent's guts on there, okay? You need to be gutting them. You need to be shanking these motherfuckers and letting their intestines just ride on stage. What the is this shit, man? Slice them up.
Regardless of your background, any kind of Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a rabid neo-Nazi. Doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7th. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much.
You know, with statements like that on the record, you think Democrats might want to keep their distance. But no, they don't. Instead, many are cozying up to Hassan Piker, treating him and going on his platform like a campaign stop. So AOC, Bernie Sanders, Mamdani, and then at the end there you saw Ro Khanna, congressman, who today, after you heard, was on that stream for 3 different occasions.
Right. I do want to ask you, here we are in the midst of the midterms. You're someone who's been quite outspoken. You have made several appearances on a show hosted by socialist commentator Hassan Piker. Some of your fellow Democrats, though, have raised alarms about his views. Here are two members of a left-leaning think tank. This is how they put it. They wrote, quote, "No left-wing agitator is more influential and extreme than Twitch streamer Hassan Piker. He's referred to ultra-Orthodox Jews as inbred, employed anti-Semitic dog whistles, bloodthirsty, violent pig dog against an anti-Hamas viewer of his stream, compared liberal Zionists to liberal Nazis, and said Hamas is 1,000 times better than the Israeli state." Now, Hassan Piker says some of his comments have been taken out of context, but he largely stands by them. Do you have any regrets about appearing on his show?
None, and I would go again. But I, of course, condemn those comments. I mean, I've described Hamas as a terrorist state, and we need to unequivocally condemn anti-Semitism. But Hassan Piker was at the DNC in 2024 covering Vice President Harris.
Do you run the risk of legitimizing some of those views by appearing on his show? How do you answer that?
He's got millions of followers. He'll have millions of followers whether Ro Khanna goes on his show or not.
Where do you draw the line, Congressman? Would you appear on, for example, a right-leaning show? Alex Jones, for example, who has made controversial comments that have enraged people, hurt people deeply in some instances.
Look, there is obviously a line, and I probably wouldn't appear on Alex Jones. But the point is, I don't think that that line should be with Hassan Piker, who has millions of followers. And largely what his view has been critical of the blank check that we gave Netanyahu.
Said it twice. Felt the need to mention it twice. Hey, listen, Hassan Piker's got millions of followers. I mean, he tells you what it's all about. You know what's really interesting? You know the one person who gives away the obvious game all the time? Trump. Trump gives away this go viral, provoke people to get attention, say the most radical things you can think of to get people to attack you, because if you're a right-leaning commentator, you have no credibility if the left is not attacking you. And if you're a left-leaning commentator, you have no credibility if the right isn't coming after you. At the very least, it helps your street cred if the enemy is coming after you. That's the game. That's the game. Trump plays it better than anyone. And he gives it all away. It gives it away all the time. It really is wrestling to him. In the ring, he'll hit you with a chair. He'll body slam you. He'll throw you through a table. He'll scream in your face. At WrestleMania, I'm gonna... And then he'll sit right next to you at Jimmy Carter's funeral, laughing and saying, you know, we should get together for golf. Who has Donald Trump said more disparaging things about than Barack Obama? I mean, Trump accused Obama of founding a terrorist organization, for goodness sake. Accused Obama of founding ISIS. Hey, spied on my campaign. I mean, you know the list. You know the list of things that Trump has said or tweeted about Obama. And then he sat right next to him at Jimmy Carter's funeral like they were old buddies from the neighborhood. Donald Trump gets the game. Crazy people don't. Which brings us to the correspondence dinner. And I want to wrap this up. And I'm sure you've heard plenty of talk about the correspondence dinner. I already talked about people saying it was staged, and I do not want to get into any kind of whataboutisms. I certainly don't want to get into any discussion on rhetoric. Well, how can you talk about this person's rhetoric and not bring up that person's rhetoric? How can you talk about the rhetoric on this side without talking about the rhetoric on that side? I don't want to get into that. What I'll say is what shocked me, what absolutely positively shocked me from that assassination attempt at the correspondence dinner were Democrats saying, hey, people are angry. People are angry. I mean, comparison group. It's the exact same answer Trump gave after Charlottesville. It's the exact same answer that's been given so many times to explain away extremism on the right. Hey, people are angry. They feel like second-class citizens in their own country. The border is wide open. People are angry. And now, Democrats are given the same answer to explain a Twitch streamer who says, gut your enemies, kill them. I don't care if there were rapes on October 7th. Doesn't change my opinion. If babies got raped on October 7th or babies got killed or beheaded on October 7th, and America deserved 9/11. People give the same answer to explain that away. Hey, people are angry. People are angry. They can't afford gas. Where are my control group people? Where are the normal people? I always knew it would be difficult to get traction on this podcast doing it this way. I always knew that. And I always recognized that it's 1,000,000 to 1 shot to get big doing podcasts when every single person on the planet is doing a podcast. I always recognized that. But I have to tell you, I did think I would get more feedback. I really did. That's the one thing I can say. I really did think that I would get more engagement and more feedback. I really did think that people would at least take the time to go, thumbs up. Like I say, I'm not looking for 5-star ratings. Don't expect it. Wouldn't know. I'd be a little bit upset because I'd be doing something wrong. That'd be too much agreement if I was getting 5-star ratings. I'll take a 3. I'll take a 4. I don't want a 1, but I wouldn't want a 5-star rating. But I did think I'd get more engagement. I'd get more people saying, yeah, you know what? We need more of this. We need more of this. And the only reason I can think that I'm not getting it is I'm not very good at this, or people, the centrists, the moderates, the normal people have just completely detached themselves from what's going on. They completely detach themselves. They're so sickened. They're so sickened and frustrated and fed up with what they're seeing. They have just completely detached from it. And we can't. We can't. The normal people cannot sit this thing out. We just can't. I mean, I don't know that I'm ever going to see a march for centrism. I don't think I'm ever going to see a rally for normalcy, for moderates, because that's not what we do, But it's become a cause in this country, unfortunately. I truly believe centrism has become a cause to be saved, a cause to be fought for. Moderation and compromise and pragmatism has become a cause to be saved and fought for in this country. I mean, to think that a journalist on 60 Minutes has to ask the president about the conspiracy theory of an assassination attempt being staged. To think that you'd have to do that in this country.
I hesitate to ask you about this, but as you know, these conspiracy theories out there on the left and the right, that the event was staged or that it didn't happen.
Last night didn't happen?
That it was because it was your first time there, or that Butler didn't happen. These conspiracy theories that are gaining traction on the internet.
And October 7th didn't happen, and World War II didn't happen, and the Holocaust didn't happen, and many things didn't happen. Yeah, no, I hear it. I don't know. I think they're more sick than they are con people, but there's a lot of con in it too. I haven't heard that last night didn't happen. What usually takes a little bit longer.
Yeah, usually takes a little longer. Yeah, I mean, he's right there. It was immediate. Like I said, before they even knew who the guy was and what he was there to do. It was immediate. It's staged. It's fake. And if you ask someone that we rely on to be a sane, normal, intelligent person, hey, listen, Anna Navarro, why do you think people thought the assassination attempt against Donald Trump at the correspondents' dinner was staged? What do you think she said?
It's odd to me that in a place that is teeming with Secret Service, with Washington, D.C. police, with all sorts of law enforcement, this could happen. But also, I think people jump to that conclusion that it is staged because Trump lies. He lies constantly, daily, and pathologically.
So What causes an intelligent woman to say something so silly? But not just Ana Navarro, so many people to suggest something so silly. What causes that? If only it was just silly things. If only, but it's not just silly. Not just silly things that people say or people suggest or theorize about.
The crossover in the conspiracy community is very, very large between conspiracy theories. Because if you believe one, you tend to believe a lot of them. Which is why Erica Kirk, as this happened, she was taken out of the room. She was crying because, I can't imagine why. After your husband gets shot to death in front of the entire world, and then you're at another event and gunfire breaks out in the background during an assassination attempt, yeah, it might give you a little bit of a problem. Might give you a little bit of PTSD there. There were literally thousands of comments from people suggesting that Erica was crying wrong. One person put out a tweet, now liked 42,000 times and viewed almost 1 million times on X. And X is just a cesspool. Giving Erica Kirk assassination CPTSD is so funny, actually. The torture of a widow, well done, guys. Well done, because the most important thing is the narrative, forever.
I'm just looking at that tweet. He puts it up on his screen. And yeah, giving Erica Kirk assassination CPTSD is so funny, actually. 42,000 likes. Looks like 1.3 thousand retweets. 816,000 views. Tweeted out 9:55 on 4/25/26. So it took this person on Twitter roughly about an hour and a half to decide now's an appropriate time to go and make jokes about this shooting, this assassination attempt. Now's an appropriate time. Hour and a half has passed. I can laugh about the widow of Charlie Kirk crying. Who out there thinks this ends well for the country? Who thinks this is sustainable for another 2+ years? Who out there thinks this is just somehow going to magically fix itself if we can just do well in the midterms? Who out there thinks this kind of hatred and just disgusting and vile, putrid, absolutely putrid, dehumanizing of one another is going to be corrected with a different president? If we can just get a different president. We need a control group in this country more than ever. Desperately. And if we don't get it, we ain't seen nothing yet. We ain't seen nothing. It is already pretty much officially confirmed Donald Trump cannot do an outdoor event. He just can't because of drones, because of the risk of a drone attack. Now, does that mean other people can do outdoor events? Does that mean someone that you care about can do an outdoor event? Do you think they'll be safe? Anyone that you care about that's been vocal in the politics space, do you feel like they're safe walking out their front door or doing a public event with the risk of a drone attack? Because make no mistake, this is one of the biggest concerns right now. I'm not speaking anything into existence. This is already the greatest threat facing public figures right now are these drone attacks. They already use them for terrorism in the Middle East. I'm talking about the small terrorist groups. They put a hand grenade on a drone and they drop it on people. They already do it over there. They've been doing it for years. Attach a hand grenade to a drone, fly it over, drop it on people. The only thing is it's not very accurate. That's all. Just not accurate doing it that way. But you get somebody with a motive who thinks they've been called upon. They've been called upon. This is their duty, their obligation to take this person out. We need a control group in this country more than ever. And if we don't get it, we ain't seen nothing yet.
Rain on my face. It hasn't stopped raining for days. My world is a flood. Slowly I become one with the mud. But if I can't swim after 40 days and my mind is crushed by the crashing waves, lift me up so high that I cannot fall. Lift me up, lift me up when I'm falling. Lift me up, I'm weak and dying. Lift me up, I need you to hold me. Lift me up, keep me from drowning again. Downpour in my soul, splashing in the ocean, I'm losing control. Dark sky all around, I can't feel my feet touching the ground. But if I can't swim after 40 days and my mind is crushed by the crashing waves, lift me up so